Okay, I would love to hear your story, your wine journey. How did it lead you to Chateau Dauzac?
Okay, so it's been a very interesting journey. Growing up in the Beaujolais region,
Mm,
so
I didn't know that.
eastern part of France, south part of Burgundy. Uh, yeah, I grew up there. My family is not from the wine industry, although my
Mm,
grandfather on my mother's side was a worker in the field
mm,
of wine, so more in the vineyard and working
yeah,
there as a worker. So when I grew up, I was surrounded with vines. My father was in insurance, and so I had this appeal with business and
mm,
being surrounded with wine. At some point, it was pretty logical journey. I liked the product, and I also thought it was
mm,
in late 90s, and I thought in my way in my mind it was still like early on, but I thought that's a product that could not be digitalized. I already thought about what could
mm,
happen in the next 20, 30 years and how some product might be digitalized and might be gone or might be unrelevant. And I thought that
mm,
wine, there was something that would always stay there. And again, we can see in trends, sometimes the trend goes down for lower wine, but go higher for high-end wine. But I thought it was something that would last and something that would be,
yeah,
again, relevant and interesting in the future. So wine was my focus in eventually. But again, I was in the Beaujolais, and there's some wonderful wineries in Beaujolais. Obviously, there's the Cru, like Morgon, Régnier, Julienas, those Brouilly. I mean, there's this 10
yeah,
Cru that makes amazing wine. But I was from the south of Beaujolais, the Beaujolais that makes typically Beaujolais
yeah.
Nouveau. And again, there's some wonderful producer. And I
Of
thought,
course, it's a different style.
and I've met the all like the OGs of Beaujolais, the old
Wow.
timer who
Mm,
started the Beaujolais Nouveau, and talking to them was wonderful. It was very eye opening. It's easy to shit on Beaujolais Nouveau these days and to say, like, what terrible wine, but you have to understand that at this time, like in the late 60s, early 70s, there was these guys who never left their region ever, and suddenly they go to Japan, they go to New York, and they welcome as rock stars. They throw huge parties, and
of course.
they sell their wine. They just finished to ferment the wine pretty much. They just sold it, made cash, empty the winery. I mean, it's a dream of every wine business people,
Exactly.
every wine producer. So on paper, it's wonderful. Again, you could travel. They left the small like villages to go welcome as just again like rock star is a great word that I will illustrate.
Yeah.
So, and you imagine the 70s just leaving France to go to Japan, New York, or wherever, like Los Angeles,
Mm,
was a wonderful experience. So I cannot blame them. But when I worked a bit with the institution who organized the promotion of Beaujolais, I did a small training there, and I realized that, I mean, that was not my ideal for Beaujolais. I thought
mm,
there was so much great wine, and as weather was getting a little warmer, having a fresh, fruity wine was a perfect wine for these days. and
yeah.
and I really had a lot of conversation. I was 20 years old, like
Yeah.
nobody cared about me, but I thought I wanted to stand up for Beaujolais and say, like, you guys should stop making Beaujolais Nouveau, focus on high quality, and make it again, put like your name on the map, not as just a fun gimmick wine, but as
I see.
a wine region that makes amazing, fresh, fruity wine. Again, like, who doesn't like fruity and fresh wines? I could see that we're talking to a wall, and
I can imagine how they liked your idea of destroying their business model,
also,
being a rock star.
And that's why I thought like this is not a region for me professionally. Again, I love there. I'm
Okay.
going there in a few weeks. It's a great region. Whoever I talk to, even people who work in fancy Champagne, Burgundy, Bordeaux, who's been to Beaujolais, they love it. It's very hilly, very beautiful. People are super friendly, very welcoming. But for the wine culture, again, I had a discrepancy between what I my ideal way of to promote a better wine and what people wanted in terms of finance. And
Yeah.
that's why I said fair enough. And I went to study 1 year in the wine university in Rhône Valley, in
Mm.
Suze-la-Rousse, in the Drôme department, and that's where I acquired my knowledge and confidence in working with wine.
Mm. That's very interesting. I didn't know that you come from that region, but totally makes sense. And after you finish your studies, how did you start in sales?
So it was a time we still have to do the national service, like in military. So
Mm.
I had two choices, either to postpone. That was not very my thing, but to postpone and postpone and postpone, and then eventually, because it was the last, it was the end of the mandatory military service.
Yeah.
I could have postponed and avoid it, or do it and then be free to do whatever I want. And I chose option two. And my goal was to learn English. My English was very poor at the time.
Mm.
Believe it or not, it was very poor, and so that's why I really wanted to improve my English, and Ireland was my choice. I But I didn't know anyone there, uh, and it's funny how things work. I was literally looking at flights to go to Dublin on my computer, and the same hour when I'm about to press click and to buy a flight ticket to go to Dublin, there's this woman from the village I've never very met. I knew her father, and I didn't know her daughter, but her daughter lived in Cork in south of Ireland, and
Mm.
she come in the house. I never met her, and she said, "Hi, what are you doing?" It's like going to Ireland. I say, "Oh, my daughter lives in Cork. Her husband is very cool. You should like call her and see if there's something you can
Wow.
do." So next thing, I'm on the phone with her. We never met. I didn't even know she existed, and she knew my grandfather. I knew her grandfather. Next things, I'm on the flight to Cork, or Cork, as they will say down there, and I'm going there to start living in this beautiful country.
Wow. That's very interesting.
And my
Yeah.
goal was to work in a pub or do whatever I could to learn English. That was my goal, and from there, I so but I was determined. I had my wine degree. Working the pub would have been great, but I
Yeah.
wanted to work with wine. So I pushed every door of every wine store in town until I found this great company called Babel Brothers that was
Mm.
focused on grower champagne. And I pushed the door. They were looking for someone to help them with the purchasing. Next
Mm.
thing, I'm after a week, I'm working as a buyer of French wine, and next thing I had to sell, so I was on the road,
Mm.
and I still remember selling my two first. I've sold millions and millions worth of wine, but I still remember this first sale when in
Of
Ireland
course.
when I was determined to succeed, and I thought to myself, I will not leave this account without selling my two first cases, and I did, and that was the beginning of the great journey in distribution.
Wow, that is very motivational. And after that,
After
how
that,
did your
I spent almost 3 years in Ireland working for this company.
okay?
The company almost went bankrupt, focusing a lot of growth champagne. It was at the millennial time, and I joined the company just like in March 2000. So at the
Okay.
millennium, they did a killing. but at the end, nobody wanted champagne in March 2000.
They
So
had their fair share.
yeah, exactly. I joined the company, and the company almost went bankrupt. I remember my boss Billy came to me. He's like, "I think we're going to close this company. It's not working."
Hmm.
And for me, as a that's why I have strongest respect for all migrant people who come to work, because they work very hard, and I was determined not to come back to France with a failure and having not succeed in this company. And I told Billy, I said, absolutely no effing way. We're going to work ass off, and we're going to turn it around, and we did. I worked very
Wow.
very hard. We had a store in the English markets, more like gourmet store. Um, we did a killing there. We hired the right people. I worked my butt off to sell wine in. I had the house champagne in the Clarence Hotel, the hotel of
Okay.
Bono for you two, for
Hmm.
example. We had the
Yeah.
champagne of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the local show, and we imported the right
Hmm.
wine, like Massamiel or some very high quality wine from Provence, and sorry, from south of France. And we started growing, and the company is still alive then. So I'm very proud to have
Wow, you saved
pushed
them.
the push the company to succeed, and super proud that Billy and his colleagues are still running a great company there.
Wow, that is very cool. You saved them. And after,
It was not only me, but there was
of course, of course.
definitely. I think he wanted or needed someone highly motivated. It was not only me, of course, but
Yeah.
there was a. I had a strong determination to succeed.
Yeah, they needed that spirit, the young, determined spirit. And after Ireland, how did you arrive to Bordeaux?
Ireland. So early 2000s, there were amazing wine from Argentina. I remember
Mm.
it was still pretty new. I remember drinking some stuff that was very exciting at the time, even like sparkling British sparkling wine. That was super exciting,
Hmm.
and now I know it's more and more trendy, and in
Yeah.
UK they do more and more. But early 2000 it was still new, and I remember drinking some exciting Australian wine, which as a Frenchman usually drink French wine. If you go to the store now, it's changing little by little, but if you go to Bordeaux, you will find Bordeaux wine, maybe
Yeah.
wine from Loire, Burgundy, Champagne, maybe one Spanish wine, one American wine, and I don't think much Romanian wine.
Exactly.
And uh, so for me, it was very exciting to be able to broaden my perspective on wine, and be able to try different wine from all around the world. But Argentina, I thought, wow, Malbec from Argentina, but also some Cabernet Franc from there were just
Yeah.
amazing, and great value. And I thought, I'm going to go there. It seems like a
Wow.
great place to work. Ireland was wonderful. Again, great crack, as they say. Great people, amazing culture. It was middle of Celtic Tiger, so there were money. People were happy. Business was doing great, and I did well with the rain. But at some point, I thought if I stay a bit too long, I might find a great Irish girl, and being stuck on this island was a bit. I don't know. I was still young and still want to do a lot of things. So although my boss Billy at the time wanted me to be a co-director again, being in my early 20s would have been a wonderful
Yeah.
experience. But I thought, let's go to Spain. And my friend Inigo, who was a Basque friend, I called him up and say, I don't speak any word of Spanish. I don't want to cross the ocean without knowing any of the language. He said, there's a great school in San Sebastian in Donostia, so you should check it out. Send me a leaflet, I remember, and I called them, I applied, and I got accepted. So next thing, I'm in north of Spain, in the Basque Country.
Yeah.
Beautiful city of San Sebastian, one of the gourmet capital of Spain,
Yeah.
and I'm studying Spanish there. So that was my way to go to South America.
Thanks for watching this video. You can watch the full podcast episode by clicking here or watch another interesting video by clicking here. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section and see you in the next one.